You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
All right, here we go. Let's do one life advice, rr@gmail.com. Okay, little stuff here at the top. He gives me his background, but that's not really what's important here. He goes, all right, long story short, me and my family are sick of the crap. One of my brother-in-laws, let's call him Jordan, is pulling on my sister. Let's call her Marie. I hope those are not their real names. It all goes back to when they first started dating 12 years ago, and he caught by my sister living a double life, dating multiple women simultaneously while using fake names. It got to the point that she was preparing to contact the authorities about his immigration status. He moved to the USA from Nigeria for school and has been here for nearly 20 years. Because there were some things she knew about that at the time he was loosely in violation of. All right, so he was breaking the law on top of breaking hearts. They worked their stuff out, got back together, and got engaged, married shortly after. Over the years, he's increasingly had excuse after excuse to never come to any family event. He takes time off from work to visit friends all over the country often, but will never take time off to come to any holiday event, despite all of his planning around his schedule. In the last few years, Marie has dealt with pretty severe anxiety over Jordan's habits, and he's done very little to help her. He will never be transparent with what he does or where he goes, and it immediately leads to insecurities based on his past of not being faithful to her. Marie has been seeing a therapist for quite some time, but he refuses to join her despite her asking him to. Marie has come an incredibly long way in her personal life, both spiritually and emotionally, without any help from Jordan. All right. We already know where this is going. In more recent months, some shady stuff has come about regarding Jordan. No shit. One of Marie's friends found an Instagram account that Jordan has, of which Marie and the rest of our family is blocked from seeing or messaging. Okay. And some investigating, Marie found an Instagram fitness model's account that Jordan's been interacting with frequently and gets defensive over. So your sister, the wife, goes to her husband and is like, why are you interacting with this fitness model IG account? And he gets mad at you. And oh, by the way, Marie is also blocked from this fitness model's account. All right. A few weeks ago, Marie and Jordan went on a weekend trip to Nashville. A few days after returning from the trip, Marie realized she forgot to mention an issue with something in their room. All right, so she calls the hotel back to let them know. When she called back, they asked her which reservation she was talking about, because there was one from their stay the previous weekend and one for the following weekend, too. They had her information connected with Jordan's credit card from the previous day. Just so happened Jordan had been visiting a friend in Arizona, but we suspect now that he was in Nashville again. What leads you to that? The hotel room reservation at the same hotel in Nashville that your sister wasn't at the same time for the second reservation. Even bigger coincidence, the Instagram model happened to have a story on her account showing the lobby of the exact same hotel. I don't even know what you're asking me here at this point, because we already know the answer. Marie asked Jordan for some sort of proof, a flight, a ticket, anything that could prove he was actually in Arizona, and he refused to provide anything because he doesn't have anything. All right. There's been some conversation between myself and our two other sisters about what we should do. Okay. If anything, we always try to stay out of each other's business unless they ask for help, but this is getting to be way too ridiculous to leave it be. I agree. How should I react to this? How should I react to the situation as the only brother in the family? To what degree should I try to comfort or confront him about this nonsense? I don't want to be the one to stir things up, but all my family's fed up with this crap, and someone needs to call him out, either on a potential affair or was pure ignorance of my sister. Any advice is greatly appreciated. That's from Ricky, not his real name. Okay, that sucks, man. I mean, it really sucks when your sisters are getting screwed over. And this isn't just some guy she's dating. This is somebody she's married to. So clearly there's some feelings here. So you always have to worry about, like, okay, your sister's going through this stuff, but does she care about this guy and trying to salvage it more than she cares about common sense? Because common sense tells you this guy's a total piece of shit. But we know, like, anybody that's like, oh, I'm blocked on this thing. Well, why would your husband ever block you from looking at any, like, why do guys have second accounts? Okay. Problem. Flag. He's blocked from the account. Flag. A fitness model blocked me who I don't know. Flag. He already did this before. Double life. Flag. Like, he can't do the thing that you need to do if you're going to settle down. Right. And everybody kind of goes their separate ways. And I shouldn't say everyone. So I just don't want to, like, look, there's plenty of relationships out there where people grow apart and you start doing, but this guy from day one was wired this way. and your sister still took it back on. So now it gets kind of like your role. Like, what are you supposed to do as the guy? Because, okay, as a brother to a couple sisters, and I understand kind of where you're going from. Like, you always, like, I initially would always want to be the tough guy about it. Okay, I would want to go and pull the guy aside and say, I'm going to beat your fucking head in if you keep doing this to my sister. And yes, I would say that. I'm sorry if it sounds immature or whatever. But then as you get older, you realize, you know what? My sister's the one that's putting herself in this situation. Okay, so 20-year-old me would have said something like that and wanted to feel cool about it too. And older me would go to my sister first and say, what do you want this to be? Like, what is your goal? Because if your goal is to get him to change his ways and to be with you all the time, then that's an unobtainable goal. That goal is not going to happen. This guy now this isn't a screw up in Key West with the buddies. This isn't being flirty and texting with the golf cart girl because you're texting her to make sure you have a couple Michelob Ultras ready later on at the turn. And then the next thing you know, you're like, why is the golf cart girl texting you at night? Sometimes these guys will do this thing where there's this emotional thing. I mean, look, women do it too, but I'm, again, only speaking as a man here with it. But what you really probably need to do is you probably could confront him once and not be a tough guy about it. Be like, hey, look, here are the facts. Here's what's going on. What's your plan here? Because you wrecking my sister and giving her anxiety is not helping anybody. And that's why he doesn't show up, because he either feels guilty or he doesn't like any of you. He certainly doesn't respect any of you. So I think you could have it out with him once, because that's the other thing that is starting to piss me off more in life, is that everybody's about taking the high road and not calling anyone out. And that's why I think the assholes keep winning, because you're just like, hey, there's all these people in my industry that do all these shitty things behind the scenes. And I hear about them all the time. And then I see them on social media talking about like how they support each other at work. And it just isn't true. And then everybody's like, oh, you're the best. It's like, no, you go. Be like, oh, you're so there for this. I'm like, oh, and then I just know, be like, actually, this person hates this person. This person tried to get this one fired. This person wants that one's job. And no one ever calls anyone out, because that's not the right thing to do. But because no one calls anyone out, people are more empowered to keep acting like assholes to each other. So I think for your own, the fact that you emailed me, like, this is bothering you enough that I endorse you saying, and not being a tough guy about it, but just saying, look, why are you doing this to my sister? Like, just, you don't want to do this though. I think you got to talk to her first, because you don't want to say to him, be like, hey, just end it. If this is your routine, then you need to end it. But you can't do that before you talk to your sister. Ask your sister, see how she feels. Ask her I don't know what the hell her answers are going to be here with this. Obviously, she likes this guy. But the sad thing about all of this, like the conclusion that I would come to, is that ultimately, like, her life is her life, and it can bum everyone else out. It can bum out your entire family, and it should, because that sucks, man. I didn't even like reading that. But if your sister decides to continue to stay in the relationship, that's ultimately what she wants to do, and it's her life. And you'll have to come to some point, and maybe it'll be closure for you, to say how you feel to the guy, look him in the eyes, tell him he's a piece of shit. And then if he stays with your sister, he stays with your sister. It wasn't like he was hanging out anyway, so you're not ruining any dynamic, and continue to not like the guy. Because I would continue to not like the guy if he was doing this to my sister the rest of his life. And there you go. But at least you said it to him once. You ask your sister, but your sister ultimately is the one to blame for staying in the relationship, because this is indisputable stuff. The hotel thing with the Instagram model, give me a break. So, and in the future, include all handles of Instagram models that we are investigating here.
Please.
All right. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review to the Ryen Russillo podcast. Sorry about the swearing there, but, as a guy who has sisters, sometimes I get worked up about that stuff. All right. We'll talk to you this week.